a big campaign, as you heard before, has been launched on industrial relations. A variety of groups are saying that they're going to campaign hard against Labor's proposed changes for so-called same job, same pay. From the Australian Financial Review, political editor Phil Coorey joins me live. Thanks for your time. What do you think? I always, hear these headlines, multi-million-dollar big campaign going. How effective is this likely to be? And I guess how locked in are they to oppose this? Because Labor says, well, we're still consulting on it.
Yeah, look, it certainly has a preemptive factor to it, Tom, because all we've seen so far is a consultation paper, which is sort of fairly broad, but that's the point I think the business groups are making. It so broad that it pretty much encompasses, in their view, the entire labour hire industry. But what the government is claiming to do is they say there are some cowboy operators out there who use labour hire as a deliberate tool to undercut wages and conditions. It's easy to bring in labour hire to get people you'd otherwise would normally employ yourself on a full-time basis. So that's the sort of claim. With the counterclaim from the business groups is that this goes way, way, way beyond that and will basically wipe out the entire labour hire industry. And it's used very widely: airlines, miners, retailers, agriculture. It's especially for up and down type work patterns when you want to ramp up and down your operation, say over Christmas, put on extra staff, this sort of thing. So they say it'll take away flexibility, make it all rigid. If you want to put extra staff on, say for the harvest or the Christmas sales, you actually will have to hire them and then fire them, all these sorts of things. So you've sort of got these two poles apart arguments, and we haven't, as you said, we haven't really seen the detail yet, the exposure draft of what the government's actually proposing. But the business groups are worried enough to sort of come out with all guns blazing. And you mentioned the mining tax campaign. That we've heard threats ever since that, that this will be a repeat. That was clinically effective. It sort of pretty much finished off Kevin Rudd's prime ministership and killed that policy. But this is a little bit more broad brush than that, but it has a lot more groups. I think the difference with this one is it's pretty much every sector of the economy, mining, agriculture, oil and gas, retail, airlines, banks, the whole small business. COSBOA is important, ACCI, which is medium business, and then the BCA. So no one really misses out on this one in terms of its breadth. It's a much bigger campaign. We did see something similar to this in 2007 when some of these groups banded together to try and support John Howard over work choices, but that went down like a stinker. But this is much bigger than that. So
what's your sense on whether this becomes a rolling campaign and point of sort of friction? Do you think Labor might sort of knock off the hard edges, as we often say, and it doesn't become a sort of rolling war, or is the principle, the heart of this around labour hire, just going to be too big a chasm for the two?
Well, the groups are vowing to take this to the election if need be. As I said today, we're not going to do this for 1 or 2 weeks, then go away. I'm not sure about the effectiveness of the current ads, though. They're a bit hard to sort of work out. But that doesn't mean they won't make more ads. But they're vowing, they've got plenty of dough, and they'll go all the way between now and the next election if they have to. I don't think there's anything yet for Labor to knock hard edges off. But I'd be surprised if it doesn't help shape the final outcome.
It comes off the back of other IR changes and then a wages decision that has business generally a bit nervous, I guess. What did you make of this? Because 5.75% increase on those on the award minimum wage. I know there's a bigger amount, sort of one-off jump for those on the national minimum wage. But it is more towards the union demand, but not massively so, but got quite a big reaction. Is this potentially the start of sort of spiralling wages, or is that a bit overblown for now?
Well, it will be, Tom, if unions and others see this as a template for broader wage claims. So that 5.75 goes to about 2.5 million workers on the awards. I think the 180,000 on minimum wage got about 8%. But if everyone else now renegotiating EBAs and so forth, or about to make claims to the Fair Work Commission, starts asking for 5.75, then yes, then it does have that potential. And this is exactly what the Reserve Bank Governor Philip Lowe was warning about over the last couple of weeks. Up until now, wages have not played a role in inflation, but they certainly could from here on in if we have these rather high wage increases without any corresponding increase in productivity.
Yeah, and it was interesting to hear the President of the Fair Work Commission come out and say only 11% of wages directly affected. So the big question is how indirect could this be? And we don't really know, but various theories are put forward. And then rates, Phil, whether this feeds into rates, we've seen the chance of another increase slowly ratchet up from very low to 25 to maybe 40%, and that could even happen this week after the dual news of inflation and wages. Is this going to get Labor in particular worried because, you know, they're seen as sort of owning any rate hikes from now on, whether that's fair or not?
Well, I think, we're fair or not being the operative clause there, Tom, but I think ever since the budget a few weeks back, whether they like it or not, Labor now will politically own rate increases, even though if that budget was inflationary, which both Treasury and the Reserve Bank says it wasn't, but you wouldn't really know for about another 8 to 12 months in real terms when you're looking at the data. But in political terms, the coalition will pin this to Labor's forehead, any further rate rises. And I think that pay increase last week, you have to wait and see what the Reserve Bank says in its reasoning if it does move tomorrow, as I expect it might. But if it cites fears about wages, then that will be a little shot back at the Fair Work Commissioner and his reassurance last week.
Yeah, interesting. As you noted, it was another element of the RBA at Senate estimates last week. They did back in the budget not being inflationary, but that tends to be a footnote rather than the headline, given we all just look and see what happens to rates anyway. Phil, thank you.